Stand Up Diaries with Michelle Christine.
Hello and welcome to Stand Up Diaries, entry 174, and this one's called I'm in Melbourne, or as people here say it, Melbourne. And yes, my first time down under. This is crazy. So I did the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I did 25 shows in 25 days, and my last video, my voice is a little bit hoarse, and it did clear up a little bit, but now that I've done 6 shows in a row, it's starting to get a little bit hoarse again here in Melbourne. But when I finished in Edinburgh, and it was great, I had full houses every night, busting my ass, and the audiences were fantastic. I really did have the time of my life. It's such a beautiful city. And then I flew back to LA, and I was in LA for I think all of 4 days before flying to Melbourne. And the thing is, I was like, well, if I'm going to be in LA for 4 days, I should do another show there because I'm going to be gone to Australia for 2.5 months. So Catherine and I did another Truth or Dare, Let's Laugh. So that was for the Saturday night. So I think I arrived on maybe like a Thursday or Friday. I think Thursday. And so I had Friday to recover, started flyering for the show because I thought, if the flyering worked so well in Edinburgh, why not flyer for our Truth or Dare show? Because I didn't have enough time in LA before the show to really market it as much as I would have liked to. So I got some flyers printed. Catherine and I went out to a farmer's market and we just started flyering there, and we had people come from there. And then I went to Hollywood and Highland because her mom had flown in from Chicago, and I really wanted it to be a good show because her mom was there, and seeing her and us perform together for the first time, and her brother was doing our newcomer spot on the Truth or Dare show as like kind of the up-and-comer doing 5 minutes. So I really wanted it to be a full house. So I went to Hollywood and Highland where it's crazy and there's all the people dressed up as like Marilyn Monroe or Johnny Depp, and flying like a crazy person, dressed up like my Mountie. And then it was a full house, yay! And we had such a fun show, and I think we really made her mom proud, which makes me feel really great. And Dean saw it being a really full show, and I think he really appreciated that too, and we had a lot of fun. So we'll definitely, we're doing another one November 19th when I get back to Los Angeles. So we already have that booked and ready to go. But here I am in Melbourne. What's it like? It is a lot like Toronto. It's kind of weird to fly 14.5 hours, because it was direct from LA, thankfully, and feel like you're still in North America. So that's why I'm excited to kind of travel around Australia a little bit after my show to see it for kind of what makes it unique. But Melbourne has a fun vibe, a hip vibe, very artistic vibe, which I really appreciate. There's actually someone who tipped me my first like $50 after a show, so that was my highest tippage. I didn't think I'd ever see one of those bills because I just brought my credit card when I came here. I didn't kind of exchange any money. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, a pineapple, this is amazing. But yeah, there's trams here, like the streetcars we have in Toronto, kind of a more built up downtown core, or as they call it here, the CBD, the Central Business District, and we call it downtown. And yeah, I think people here are very like supportive of kind of the arts, and the Melbourne Fringe has been so fun. I've had a full house, 6 shows in a row, and I think kind of, yeah, definitely putting on that Mountie costume and flyering really helps. The only thing it doesn't help is keeping my voice intact. And yesterday, I had some family friends come. So the first show, Kim came, who's the fiancé of my brother-in-law, Sean, who lives in Melbourne. So Sean and Kim live in Melbourne. They met here. Sean came over here and met her, and they decided to relocate here, and they just bought a house, and so it's very exciting. So she came the first night with a couple friends, but Sean was feeling sick, and that show went really well. And you're always nervous when your family friends are there, so I was very happy that it went well. And then last night, I had family friends growing up. They were called the Leibs. So they were, husband and wife, had a daughter, Katja, who's my sister's age, a son, Daniel, who's my age, and they lived across from us. So Daniel and Katja came with their significant others. And I was so nervous because they sat right in the front row. And I was like, oh my god. So like every time you like look up, they're there. Or anytime you like make a sex joke, they're there. But the show went really well too, which was great, even though I was very tired. I actually screwed up a word. I have a joke where I talk about a pleasure rod, and I said like pleasure rod or something like that. I don't know. I meant to say rod, and it's one of those things that after you're always like beating yourself up for it. But a lot of times people kind of just enjoy the show and enjoy even if you kind of screw up a word, because it almost makes it like an improv-y funny moment where you're like human. But yeah, I always know if you're like in a band and you play a note and one note you miss, you know, you're going to think about it after, but nobody else is. But they had a great time, which is good because you always want to impress them. And the show was really fun. And it's just been fun going out after the shows with the people, because this venue in particular, it's called the Tuxedo Cat. It actually has a very good vibe to it. So before it spotlights in Edinburgh, it wasn't really a venue where after you'd go out and have a few drinks at the venue with people, because it wasn't really set up to have a kind of a bar. But this place does. It has like a ping pong table set up, a PS3 with a couple lounge chairs, and it's just kind of got a vibe that's inviting for you to have a few drinks with people after the show. So I did that yesterday as well. And then right now I'm staying in this apartment. So this apartment, a guy who came to my first show, we had each other on Facebook, and he's like, look, I'm going to go to Perth, north of Perth, for about a week and a half to do some work. If you want, you can stay in my flat for free. And I was like, well, of course, that's amazing. So I love it. It's like a studio. It's on right near Chapel Street, which is kind of like a hip street on a street called High Street. And then I got a great night's sleep last night, which I really needed after kind of having 6 days. And then before, I stayed with Lena. She's a girl that I met in Toronto who came to one of my shows, moved to Melbourne. I wrote that I was going to the Melbourne Fringe Festival, and she wrote, come stay with me. And so she picked me up from the airport, so I've been staying with her since September 7th. So I stayed with her for at least a couple weeks. So the kindness of strangers strikes again, or maybe not quite strangers, but people that you may not have known for 10 or 12 years, but yet they're so willing to offer to share their spaces with you. And in Edinburgh, I had 3 different people offer me their spaces as well, because I do a free show because I want to encourage people to come. They can totally tip if they'd like to, but I have no guarantee that I'll even break even when I come out to these things. So the fact that I can have accommodation at $0 is like life-saving when it comes to maintaining a budget. And I'm kind of working on maybe trying to get a motorcycle so that I can kind of drive around Australia for a couple weeks after my shows are done. So we'll see if that comes to fruition, because I just had another article come out on motorcycle.com about my base camp adventure of going out into the Mojave Desert and going up a few mountains, and it was amazing and so much fun. And I just love writing about riding and all the adventures that I do. And there were some comments on that article that was said, like, we really enjoyed reading it, or like ride on, and like we look forward to maybe hearing about you in Melbourne. So that's the kind of stuff that I love to hear, and keeps me going and keeps me trying to strive to have a really fun and adventurous life. But anyways, I'm going to rest my voice because instead of resting it, I've talked straight to the camera, and that's probably not what the doctor ordered. So I will bid you adieu, and I'm sure I will update you soon. This has been your next edition of Stand Up Diaries. I have been Michelle Christine.